Welcome everybody, and I'm glad Kathy's sticky note worked. The recording is in progress, and the recording of this will be posted up on our YouTube page shortly after the conclusion in the next day or so. Anyway, my name is Mark Gilbert. I am the Vice President of the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, one of their researchers. Uh, Somebody who just loves digging into the archives and bringing stuff out. Many of you may have familiar with the Ernest Holmes at Asilomar book that I helped compile and put out last year. It's a great resource tool for you. I hope you've gotten a copy of it and you're benefiting from it. We have so many more resources. I would also just tout that if you're a member or subscriber or anybody who uses scienceofmindarchives.com, the website, we've just recently posted a bunch of help videos on the website and encourage you to go take a look at those to help you walk through not only how to join, but how to download documents and listen to and download audio files, how to use the research tools that are online, and also how to use our inventory of Ernest Holmes. And so if you're ever curious, what do the archives actually have on Ernest Holmes? You have access to it. You can go to the spreadsheet and look at it, download it for your own offline use. It's a continuous tool we're updating as we discover more stuff and post more stuff. Today, we're here to listen to one of our records, one of our audio recordings from Ernest Holmes. This one's not yet on our website. It's called Pray and Prosper. And it is a record that Ernest Holmes put out in 1957, part of a series. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I want to start with a prayer, and then we're going to speak a little bit about the archives and introduce some of the board members who are on, very quickly run through some of the things that are going on with the archives. And then I'll come back and tell you about the record. And then we're going to listen to it and then have some breakout groups and discuss it. And it's going to be quite fun. I think you're going to benefit from this. But let's start with a prayer. So let's just go within in this moment. Just take a breath. As we just shift our focus and attention from the busyness of the day and all that we've been doing in the world of form, all the discussions, the actions, the thoughts, the words, the deeds, everything that's just taking our attention away from spirit, we shift now in our consciousness into that awareness within us where we know and feel and sense the divine moving through us and giving us our very being. As we shift our focus into sensing and knowing that oneness, the divine, we know that that oneness, that divinity is within us. Each and every one of us are individualized expressions of the one, growing, evolving, moving in consciousness to awareness of that oneness and then bringing that oneness back into the world, the physical world, through our actions. We know that each and every one of us is perfectly placed on our spiritual path for what's next for us. And I know that what's next called you today to be on this call to listen to this recording and share your thoughts and hear the thoughts of others. And so we know and simply allow ourselves to feel blessed by the very nature that we have this philosophy, the science of mind, these recordings, all of the words of Holmes in both written and in audio form that we can access to assist us on our spiritual path. We're thankful for the resources of the Science of Mind archives that aggregates all of this content and brings it forth to the world in a loving way that allows us to access it and use it for our personal growth. And we know that as we move through this call today, we do so with an open mind and an open heart. We listen to the words of Holmes and the words of the other expressions on this call, each and every one of the people here today, to know that all of this interplay is assisting each of us individually on our own paths. And with that anchored into our awareness, I simply have a thankfulness filling my heart, and I release the words into that one law, knowing that it is done now. And so it is.
So it is.
So again, thanks for being here. Those of you who might have joined in the last few minutes. Again, my name is Mark Gilbert, Vice President of the Board for the Archives, one of the key researchers for the Archives. We also have Kathy Mastriani, who's our Executive Director, who's on as well in running the recording stuff. We've also got Reverend Martha Quintana, who's on the call. Martha is the one who had the brainchild for creating these lunch and learns, which we've been doing almost 2 years now, with an idea of taking all of the resources we've been of audio recordings of Ernest Holmes that we have been digitizing and making available through the website. She's been scheduling these sessions and bringing them forth for all of you to listen and to benefit from. We've also got other board members on the call. I'm just going to quickly scan the screen here. I see Jim Van Cleve, who's our president. He's sitting there with his lovely wife, Emily. And we've got Reverend Chris Plim here on the call as well. She's one of our board members. And am I missing anybody? Okay, well, we want to thank those for their service, and we want to thank all of you for being here today. As I mentioned a moment ago, we want to spend just a quick moment at the outset here telling you about some of the resources of the archives. I sort of gave you the insight of some updates to our website with the new help videos that we've put out, but I want to just run through a calendar of things that are coming up next from the archives. The next thing that we really want to call your attention to is that we're coming down to the end of the year, and with Black Friday and all those things, you're probably aware there is now Giving Tuesday, which asks for you to give your support when you're thinking about shopping, to also shop and support those nonprofits that speak to your mind and speak to your heart. And we being one of those. And there's a link on our website for you to give under the Giving Tuesday process that occurs on December the 3rd. So put that on your calendar you don't have to wait till the 3rd. You can donate now, by the way. So, but if you're interested in supporting the archives, feel free to, and we encourage you to use those links and use this reminder as a time to give to this organization. On December 19th, that's the 3rd Thursday of next month, if my calendar is correct, and that will be the next one of these calls. And so our monthly Lunch and Learn call will be occurring in the December 19th. In January 26th, we have a special party coming up, an online concert that contains music from Karen Drucker and Jamie Lula and Jesse Powers that will be celebrating Ernest Holmes' birthday. There's going to be details coming out on our website about that Ernest Holmes birthday music celebration. Also in concert with that, and concert's a good word to use, I guess, is we'll be doing a silent auction for many items in January relative to a fundraiser for the archives. And we'll also be having a little contest for selling candles, selling virtual candles for honoring Ernest Holmes' birthday. And you'll be finding information about that in our newsletter. It'll also be on our website very shortly. If you are so inclined, be sure to go to the website and sign up for our newsletter, which comes out periodically. At least once or twice a month, giving you information on the happenings in the newsletter. So be sure to sign up for it. If you go to scienceofmindarchives.com, the newsletter's in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and you can click on that and follow the prompts to sign up and make sure you're getting that. I also want to mention that we've got Joelle Herrera on the call. This is also our recording secretary. I've seen your face over here on the side, so thank you for being with us today. We appreciate your support of the archives. So now, did I leave anything out, Kathy? All right. So sometimes I know what's going on, and that's good. What we're going to do now is get into the recording. And I want to share my screen for just a moment. And I've got to make sure. I'm going to do that. Okay, what I want to do is to show you, hopefully everybody can see my screen now, but I want to show you an ad. This is from the August 1957 issue of Science of Mind magazine. This is an ad where they first announced a new series of 45 records featuring the messages of Ernest Holmes. And if you can read the script on there, it tells you that they were intending to put out 52 of these things. And they only put out 13. And the 13 you see listed in this advertisement are the only ones that were ever issued on records. These are the records that we have digitized. But the cool thing is we've also got a lot of the recordings that Ernest made for the other records that were never put out. And so some of those have been issued on our website already. So if you go to the scienceofmindarchives.com and go under audio files and records and record and phonograph recordings, you'll find some. And the ones that are the unreleased records are clearly indicated as you look through them. But the ones that we did get issued have numbers to them. And we're going to be listening to recording F133 here in a moment, which is entitled Pray and Prosper. And And we won't stop and flip the photograph record over. The digital recording goes right from one side to the other automatically. But here's what I want you to do as you're listening to this record, and we're going to be listening to it in just a moment. I want you to be thinking about the words of Ernest Holmes and what he's saying that speaks to you. So if you hear a phrase or a word that really speaks to you and where you are in your life, or that, something that would be beneficial for you on the next step on your spiritual path, to make a note of that. Is there something he is saying that really speaks to you or resonates with you? So jot down a few words and notes about the things that Holmes is talking about that you think are truly important for you to take away from today's call. And then when we finish listening to the recording, we're going to come back and go into some small groups and do some small group sharing of what you got out of listening to this record today. And then after that, we'll come back and have a larger group sharing. So without further ado, I am going to play the record.
Pray and Prosper by Ernest Holmes. There is a law of mind that responds to your faith. You need have no anxious thought concerning the operation of this law, for it will always respond. And this is why Jesus said that it is done unto you as you believe. If you would pray and prosper, you must believe that the Spirit is both willing and able to make the gift of life. But since the Spirit can only give you what you take, and since this taking is a mental act, you must train your mind to believe and to accept. This is the secret of the power of prayer. Jesus likened the divine Spirit to a heavenly Father, and he placed the kingdom of this Spirit right here on earth, at the center of man's being. Give us this day our daily bread. This is meant to include everything we shall ever need, whether it be a house to live in, a suit of clothes to wear, or bread to eat and butter to put on the bread. It includes, according to the words of Jesus, what things soever ye desire. You must, however, be certain that your desire harms no one. Prayer ties you to a power that is able, ready, and willing to fulfill every legitimate desire, to bring every good thing to you, to do for you even more abundantly than you have asked. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. This shifting of the burden is important, for when one feels isolated, alone, and struggling against odds, he is not equal to the task before him. His life becomes a drudgery. But if one knows the burden is lifted and set on the shoulders of the law of good, then power and speed come to hands and feet, while joy floods the imagination with anticipation. It is written that he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The word shadow is used because it suggests a protection, the refreshing coolness of the shadow of a rock in a desert spot. The shadow of the Almighty is a place of peace. And since Spirit is present everywhere, it must be right where you are. The reflection of an image in a mirror is an exact likeness of the image which is held before the mirror. And so it is that the law of good reflects back to you a likeness of the images of your own thought. Thus we are told that we reflect the glory of God. But too often we reflect the fear and limitation of man rather than the glory of God. Jesus told us to judge not according to appearances, but to judge righteously. If we do judge only according to what is now transpiring, we shall perpetuate the old limitations. But if we judge righteously, that is, if we look to the power of good, we shall create new images of thought that will reflect greater abundance. Prayer, then, is a mirror reflecting the images of your thought through the law of good into your outward experiences. And what are we reflecting now? The glory of God or the confusion of man? Prayer does not concentrate or create a spiritual power. It is attention and not concentration. It is willingness and not will. The Spirit never exerts effort. You will remember that Emerson said, "The finite alone has wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose." And so Jesus tells us to take no anxious thoughts for the morrow. All of our tomorrows are still unborn. Every day should be a new creation, a world more blessed than yesterday. You ought to take no anxious thought for tomorrow. This does not mean, however, that you are to act in an irresponsible or a chaotic manner. It does mean that you are to live this day in calm confidence in the future. And all your memories of the past will be healed, and all the pent-up energies of unexpressed desire will flow out of you in joyful expression if your communion with nature and with the Spirit is complete. This is why quiet and secluded spots tend to rest us. But the only quiet and secluded spot in all the universe is at the center of your own being, where pure spirit reigns supreme. Our lives should swing between prayer, meditation, and action. We used to pray, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." And someone has suggested that we add to this beautiful evening prayer one for the new day. "Now I get me up to work. I pray the Lord I shall not shirk. If I should die before the night, I pray the Lord my works done right." If God is in all events, then we should go forth gladly to meet them, not only in the stillness of the evening or the quiet of the midnight, but also in the rising tide of human endeavor. Wherever people meet together for prayer and spiritual communion, a field of faith is created which reacts upon everyone who enters it. It is easy to break one twig, but if we bind many twigs together, they become unbreakable. In group consciousness, the individual faith of each member is strengthened through union with all the others. In union there is strength. This is just as true in our mental life as it is in the body of our affairs. Always you should seek the companionship of those whose faith may be added to yours. Thought atmospheres are very real. You sense them in the quiet of a cathedral or at the shrines where countless thousands have gathered with uplifted thoughts. Thus the power of one is multiplied through combining it with the power of others. This is not because the Spirit listens to many more than to just one, but because many often create a larger hope and a greater expectancy. They develop a real dynamic field of faith. The act of prayer arrives at a point of certainty when it recognizes the gift even before the gift is made. Your request is made as to a friend who you know is both able and willing to respond. Therefore, the petition becomes a joyous recognition of the fact that before they call, I will answer. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I know that thou hearest me always. These words of Jesus give us an example of prayer and acceptance. It is the recognition of the Spirit as a friend, and the acceptance that this friend acts in our behalf immediately and with power that brings the answer. Do we pray for a harvest when we plant the seed? Of course we do. Are not seed time and harvest two ends of one law? Prayer and acceptance are two ends of recognizing the divine giving which says, Son, thou art ever with me. All that I have is thine. Jesus plainly taught his followers that prayers would be answered when the one praying accepted the answer. The law of good operates on your belief at the level of your faith according to your recognition. As thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. This is the magic key to the storehouse of abundance. Your acceptance must be spontaneous as well as conscious. That is, the whole mind must accept, the whole being must respond. You must accept inwardly, outwardly, and completely. But it is not because of much speaking that you are heard, but rather because of deep, earnest, and prayerful acceptance. In this divine communion, you should not try to think out beforehand what words you are going to use. Your words should be the outcome of a deep, inner conviction which goes beyond words, but which at the same time gives birth to them. Prayer is more than a thing of the intellect. It is a thing of the feeling and of the heart. And just as an artist feels beauty rather than sees it, so we feel the divine presence as warmth and color and life. Prayer is, in fact, both an art and a science. Scientifically, it has form. Artistically, it has color, feeling, conviction. This feeling rises out of an inner awareness. There is something within you which knew reality long before your conscious intelligence was born. You can feel your way back to this original genius of the universe, this infinite artist whose creations are spread throughout all time and space. Spiritual communion enters into the joy of recognition, of acceptance, and anticipates that the divine abundance will provide a more lavish supply than you have ever conceived or dreamed of. Spiritual communion places a bowl of acceptance under the ever-outpouring horn of plenty, and it places its bowl right side up rather than upside down. The Spirit can only give you what you take, and since this taking is an act of consciousness, you must be actively aware of the presence of your desire. You must know that the gift is made even before you see it. You must receive the gift before you see it also. Therefore, say to yourself, believing that God is the invisible partner in my life, I now affirm that divine love goes before me and prepares the way. There is something deep within me that knows exactly what I ought to do and how I ought to do it. I am listening to this divine presence. I am permitting it to direct me. I not only believe that it can, I know that it will. Thoughts and ideas will come to me, and I shall be led to following them out in everyday life. I shall be impelled into right action. I know how to meet every situation in a calm trust and with a complete conviction that divine intelligence is guiding me. I wish to do only what is constructive. Therefore, I know that everything I do shall be prospered. Everything I touch shall be quickened into a newness of life. Every constructive purpose in my life will be fulfilled. I have a deep sense of an inner assurance that all is well. The same intelligence that governs the planets in their course is now acting as a law of good in my personal experience and in the experience of everyone around me. I do thank God for this increase that is mine. I do accept divine guidance. I place my life entirely under the protection and guidance of this one power, and I rest in complete faith that everything I do is prospered.
There's a lot in Ernest Holmes' recording there, and hopefully you gathered some thoughts that were beneficial for yourself. What we're going to do is Martha's going to put you into some small groups to discuss what you got out of this record. Martha, how long do you think we should take?
I was just going to ask you that. About 15 or 20 minutes, whatever you decide.
Okay, 15, I
15
think
minutes.
15, yes. So we'll
Okay.
take 15 minutes and in your small groups, just share some of the key points or ideas that you got from listening to the Ernest Holmes recording. And we'll come back after that and have a larger sharing.
Rooms are open.
Hey, hey, it's the Sons of Minders. Waiting for all my little people to pop up on the screen and stop. Looks like everybody is getting back. Hey, I hope you benefited from the recording and had a wonderful conversation. What we're going to do now is just a little group discussion. And what I would invite you to do is on the bottom of your screen, there are a way that you can raise your hand. You probably should see a raise hand icon on the bottom. So if you want to have some sharing, share what your thoughts and observations from the breakout group or from the recording that you had, invite you to raise your hand now, and Martha and or I will be looking for that. So what touched you? What stood out for you? Don't be shy. You know, they taught us in ministerial school to wait and wait and wait until it got so uncomfortable somebody would volunteer.
Yeah, I think that's me. I felt that uncomfortable. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Mark, we lost your video though.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You lost my video?
No, Mark.
No, you're on. Dr. Mark is not.
Okay. Real briefly, we had Amy and Harry on with us. Amy shared one of the main points. I mean, there were many. Prayer is willingness, not will. And we spent a lot of time talking about that and reflecting on it as well. Harry shared with, and we really enjoyed this one. In all events, go forth with gladness to meet them. And we talked about, well, sometimes we really don't go forth with gladness, with depending on the event and those types of things. Most especially, and we gave some examples of, physical issues, having to get to exams or having to do some physical activity now as compared to in our I'm going to say younger years or earlier years where we didn't have to do those things. And we discussed a little bit of that as well. Physical challenges as we season through life. So we didn't use that other word, which starts with an O. And then we talked a little bit, and Amy mentioned every Butterworth. This too shall pass. Speaking about the goings on currently in our nation and what's happening and those kinds of things. And then really being thankful, being truly thankful for everything, the calm, the confidence, and all of the future. And finally, the last part is where Dr. Holmes was rephrasing the now lay me down prayer. And he talked about in the morning, we would say, I pray the Lord that my work is done. And he said, right. And I added and shared with them, really, and we all agreed. We prefer that word, our work is done beneficial, because right and wrong sometimes, they're just not words we might want to use, but in a beneficial way was better for us. And then that's it. I'm complete.
Thank you, Dr. Barbara. And next is Frank. So, Frank, what did you get from your discussion?
It's very interesting. What I pretty much got was two things.
Um, the biggest thing that came through to me, and just now as we were coming back into the room, was my need to accept everything just the way it is. But at the same point, what came up was I have to stand in my damn truth, especially related to this particular election. I'm going to stand in my truth and no one's going to take it away. I am not getting dragged into the hatred. I'm not going to get dragged into the fuss. I'm not going to allow circumstances to control my life, period. I'm not going there. Anyone who wants to let the circumstances run their life, fine. Not me. I'm standing in my truth of who I am, what I know, and screw this shit. I'm going to be exactly who I am, period. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Hey, Martha,
Gwen?
but you can go ahead and keep calling on people.
Pardon?
I said, you go ahead and keep calling on people. I'm back on though. I got bumped off.
I saw that, and so welcome back. And here is Joel.
Yes, yes, thank you. I just will share something short. Um, Ernest Holmes said, "You must receive the gift before you see it." And as growing up as children, and someone would tell you that, oh, you know what, I'm only 5 foot, but I dunked a basketball, and you say, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. We grew up saying, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. But I love the title. Ernest Holmes reminded me of the title of Wayne Dyer's book, which is "You'll see it when you believe it." And so I just want to share that. You must receive the gift before you see it was an impactful sentence for me. Thank you.
Gwen. So next up is Valerie.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad to be here today. And one of the things that came up in my group was the other folks are from very conservative states. I'm from Illinois, about an hour up from Chicago. So obviously, I'm so grateful for that. And one of the things I say about that, I'm a retired social worker. And I started in 1980. And one of the things I worked on, I was the counselor they threw out for the first domestic violence shelter here in my county. And I went and worked with judges, police departments, men's groups, women's groups, schools, all over the place. And accomplished a whole lot on women's and children's program. And so that's part of who I am. That is not separate. My spirituality is also very political. And so I have to process that. That's just the way that is for me. I had 30 years in Unity. So this is pretty familiar stuff, but I am now in the last couple of months in a Science of Mind Monday study group with Mary Beth Spears and her husband, Michael. They're Science of Mind ministers. I love her. She has done exactly what I've done in my life, and it manifests a little different for her than it did for me. But it's like I'm hearing everything I need to hear. They're also including quantum physics in this class. Bingo! It's a life changer for me, and I really needed it. The other thing I want to say is, one of my strong suits is I do look for the opportunity in everything. I'm pretty good with that. This may take me a while to get there. And I wanted to say, in terms of, I heard a lot of good things today and wrote down a couple of things, but I would have liked a little bit more time for the writing. So I'm just going to say that because that would have been helpful. So, but I'm so appreciative, so grateful to have the group here today. It's a cold day in Illinois. It's our first difficult day, let's say. Weather's been pretty good. So, yeah, and I am open and looking for the opportunity around what can I do? It's real different. I'm almost 80 now compared to a few years ago when I was out there. I definitely believe in the knock on doors and work with people individually. That's how I got some of these laws passed. I showed up. It wasn't just in my head. So, I've been looking. I'm asking. I always ask Spirit, "What's the next step?" And I always get an answer.
Thanks, Valerie. We appreciate the feedback too. We'll look to see if we can build some writing time in on future calls. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
and maybe
Thank
something to share is the transcripts are available as well.
Yes, I was going to mention that in a moment. Let's go to Marjorie though, and then I'll come back and do that in the closing.
All right. Sounds good. Here's Marjorie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having this meeting. I'm very grateful to be here. My group, we had a lively discussion, and we were able to kind of, really share some things that offered different perspectives, and it was really, really good to be with everybody here. So I picked up from the words of Ernest Holmes. He said something about the shadow is protection, and I thought that was interesting. So I want to go back and listen to it again to hear more about what he says about the shadow. He said something about the shadow of the Almighty is a place of peace. And so that taps into in regards to what's going on right now. It's like I am peace, we are peace. And so peace is not necessarily related, or is a reflection of what it looks like or what it feels like, So I'm really, I mentioned to the group, I'm more interested right now in what I do not yet know than what I think I already know. And I really want to kind of, in terms of being in a relationship, I'm in close relationship with family members who are of the opposite political spectrum. They voted for Trump, and I'm getting ready to have a conversation with my oldest son. He's the father of my 3 grandchildren. And of course, what we both want is for my grandchildren and his children to be at peace and to have a peaceful world in the future. And yet we have such different ways of looking at it. So the question for me came up in regards to Ernest's words, something about belief systems, because I know that my son and his family are Christians, and they were praying about this election just like I was praying about this election. And so the prayers went out into the universe, to the same God who was hearing them and responding to those prayers. So it just brings up, that this is why I want to be more interested in what I do not yet know, because it's not as simple as it appears to be. And it is simple, but it's also complex. It's very, very complex. And I want to be open for being able to be at peace within this time of complexity, within this not knowing, within this, what I look at as shadow and this hidden. There's a lot of things that are still hidden from us. And I want to be open to be able to see it, and to take it in. And I want to be able to negotiate and compromise with those who have different belief systems from my own. I think that's the only way we're going to get through this, is to be able to, for each side, to kind of come together. And I don't know how it's going to happen at this point, but I don't need to know how, it will. And both sides are going to need to be prepared to let go of some of our cherished beliefs. We have to really come together and work this out, Anyway, that's where I'm at. Thank you for listening.
And thank you for sharing, and thanks to everybody for sharing. We're coming up on the hour, so before we close out today, I just want to mention a couple of things. One, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and listening to this call and sharing your thoughts and ideas on it. As Martha started to get into a second ago, this is one of the talks that the transcript's actually up on the website. So if you want to go read what you just heard Ernest say, and you can go to the scienceofmindarchives.com and search on the phrase pray and prosper in the search field, and it will take you right to the screen where the first choice will be this particular transcript. We don't currently have the audio of this on the website. It will be coming sometime next year, but the audio will be part of the recording of this program when we put it up on YouTube in a few days. So if you want to hear the audio recording again, check out our YouTube channel on the website online, and we'll have this Lunch and Learn up, like I said, in a couple of days, and you can go right to that recording and listen to it again as part of that. I'm going to leave you with one quote too that I really loved out of the recording. Ernest said the law of good, and he capsulized those, the law of good. So he's talking about spirit, the spiritual realm of our truth. The law of good operates on your belief at the level of your faith, according to your recognition. As thou hast believed, so it be done unto thee. And then he says, this is the magic key to the storehouse of abundance. This is the magic key to the storehouse of abundance. Again, the law of good operates on your belief at the level of your faith, according to your recognition. And so to me, he's saying, look to spirit, look to the non-physical realm of spirit and its truth, see the truth and abundance that flows from that, accept it into your mind, and you're going to manifest it in the world of form. So that's just was one of the key takeaways for me. The archives appreciates your support. Kathy, is there anything else we need to say before we close out today?
No, I think that was wonderful. I just want to thank everyone again for coming here. I put some links in the chat for where to get to our website. Again, sign up for our newsletter, our YouTube channel. And so again, with the third Thursday of every month at noon Mountain Time. So just keep awareness. We're going to be changing our Zoom account. And so the Zoom is going to change in the new year. So in 2025. So again, if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll make sure we have the most current Zoom address for you. We may be doing a registration feature just to keep it a little more secure here. So it's just a little heads up for the future. But just thank you, Dr. Mark. Oh my God, that was wonderful. Oh, and what a great recording, Dr. Martha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks, everybody. And again, if you're a website subscriber or a friend of the archive, you can download the transcript for free. It's one of your 20 downloads per month. So be sure you're taking advantage of that as part of your membership with the archives. So thank you, everybody, for being with us today. Blessings and love and support for you and all that you do. So take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Reverend Mark. I enjoyed that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend
Thank you.
Kathy.